Jason BUTZ from Forge a Legacy here. Today we're going to talk about the topic of the habit of giving into temptation. Do you ever feel like you can't resist temptation? Do you feel like you can't get beyond the oppressing thoughts and the dark clouds that are pushing you towards lusting or looking at porn or acting on looking at porn? Do you ever feel like you can't get beyond the battle? Are you sick of losing the battle to porn and other temptations in your life? I felt the same way. And I dealt with that for nearly 25 years as I created a habit of giving into temptation. I allowed it to happen in my life. And today I want to take some time to specifically talk about some of the intricate workings of temptation. We're not going to cover everything that's possible, but we're just going to touch on some of it. And I want to take some time to reflect on a little bit of what I wrote on in our book. My wife and I published the book Back When Porn Was Fun, Freedom from the Chains, and that is available on Amazon. And I'm going to read a little bit of the book, some excerpts, and we're going to talk about it a little bit as we go through this. But I want to make sure that we really touch base on this topic because it's vital to share with people so that people that are going through this trouble and dealing with all of the anguish of temptation and giving into the temptation and falling into sin on a regular basis, that they understand a little bit more of what is going on mentally, spiritually, within them, even possibly physically, as we go through this. I also want to share this because I believe it's vital for other people that don't have this problem to be able to understand why other people do have this problem. And so being able to help other people out is vital. It's important. And so I want to make sure that we talk about this. And so today I have an excerpt that is from our book. But before we jump into that, I want to give you this statement. This is something that really we need to be careful with and we need to be watching. This statement is, to dwell will cause hell. We're going to talk more about this at the end, but you may go there with a bad thought in your mind, whether it's related to porn or anything else in your life. You may go there, but don't stay there. So to dwell will cause hell. There will be negative ramifications from staying there. We all could end up going there at some point in time, whatever it may be, a temptation or getting angry at this situation or that, or having some doubts or depressive thoughts, but staying there, that's where the trouble is at. So to dwell will cause hell. And I want to read a little bit of the book that talks about the mental breakdown. It's actually an 11-step program that happened to me. I called it that. It was a little bit tongue-in-cheek there, but it's called my personal addiction-inducing 11-step program. And so we're going to talk about that and unpack a little bit of it, and I hope that this will help you and that through it all, you'll feel the presence and the power of Jesus. I analyzed and grotesquely dissected the generalities of my typical temptation and the failures that ensued. It disheartened me to realize how elementary my response to sin actually was. I refer to it as complete passivity or my mind going blank. Every time I faced temptation, I dwelled on it. Just like I said, to dwell will cause hell. My cognitive reaction and physical actions would follow this habitual pattern, hence being a habit. Number one, I would be presented with the thoughts of porn and masturbation. That's simple. I'd be presented with it, whether it was my own sin nature, something I had concocted, or perhaps demonic influence of some sort, but I would be presented with the thoughts of porn and masturbation. Two, the ambiance, the environment, or perhaps the mood would remind me of previous indulgences, and I can't stress enough how important that is to recognize that, because that is a big player when I'm working with a lot of people, and men and women, regarding this situation, this topic. That is gigantic, and we tend to downplay it, But the enemy doesn't want us to focus on the fact that atmosphere and what's going on around us, because we are in the middle of a spiritual battle, if it's downplayed, we tend to ignore it as humans. We tend to logically put it in a box and put it away and, oh, it's just me. Well, there's an onus. I have some skin in the game. You have skin in the game if you're struggling with this situation as well. But there are other forces, and we need to be aware of that and take that into consideration. Number 3, the opportunity to indulge would become available. However that would transpire, it would become available. Number 4, I would push the truths away in my life and push them out of my mind. Like, I was feeling guilty. I didn't want to deal with it. I did not want to think about the things that would otherwise make me feel guilty. If I was going to do something wrong, I was going to feel guilty about doing something wrong, and I would push the truth of God out of my head. Sometimes I even had old hymns go through my head, or Christian rock and roll music go through my head, or I had something that I heard from a previous sermon go through my head. I'd have God's word jump out in my mind. Or oftentimes I would hear God's still small voice and I would ignore it. I'd push it out because I wanted to have fun. But I didn't have fun in the end. So that was number 4. I would push it out. Number 5 goes with that. At that point in time, I had made a choice to go there and to stay there, and my mind would go blank. That's number 5. Number 6, I would follow through like a zombie. At that point in time, I had already made the choice that I was going to follow through on looking at porn and masturbating, and that was it. I was going to do what I needed to do, what I felt I needed to do and wanted to do in order to gain the pleasure that I thought I was going to receive. I know that was a lie, and I'm telling you that's a lie, and that's not the truth. That's not what's going to happen to you, but that is what was going through my mind as I'm midway through falling into the temptation again of dwelling on it and taking action upon it. Number 7, I would let myself dive deeply into the lust, pretending to be out of God's sight and in my own little world. And that's really where escapism comes into play, where we want to escape from things that actually, we're not escaping from anything that's going to make it any better. I wasn't escaping into something better with this. This was actually going to cause more pain and agony in my life. And as a married man and a husband, it was going to trickle down into my family as well. So it was going to cause pain for other people, not just for me. I might have thought it was going to be isolated, but it wasn't. I also bought the lie that I could somehow be out of God's sight. I know that's not true. I knew that even in the time when I was giving into the temptation and doing this. But ignorance is bliss. That's not really the truth, but we can convince ourselves of a lot of things that are not true. There are many realities in life that we can convince ourselves to think otherwise. And so very, very dangerous place to think that we can escape God's eyes. He's awesome. He's good. He's loving. He's a perfect balance of love and wrath. That's why he's the great Father. And so to try to escape into something wicked like I was with porn, and to think that God wasn't seeing me, I was just fooling myself. I encourage you to not fool yourself any longer either. Number 8, and here's the insanity of it. While I was still convincing myself that God could not see me and I was going to dive deeply into the porn and lust and try to get all the pleasure I could out of it for that moment, I was still simultaneously asking God to forgive me of this. That's crazy. To forgive me of it while I'm doing it and to let me get away with it, because this would be the last time. Just one more time is what I would say to God. And usually not audibly, but in my head. With this battle going on outside of me, I can only imagine what was going on inside of my head And then to have this monologue of sorts, or definitely a dialogue that happened as well with God, saying, hey, I want to do this. I've already chosen to dive into this. Therefore, I don't feel I want to go backwards. I want to go into this. I want to enjoy it. I don't want you to see me, but I also want you to forgive me at the same time. And oh, by the way, I promise, this is the last time. Just let me get away with it one more time so it doesn't harm me, so it doesn't harm others. But it destroyed me in many ways, and it nearly destroyed my wife and my sons. And I don't want you or anybody else to deal with that pain. Number 9, I would commit the act. I'd feel foolish and then ripped off by the fake sexual experience. As soon as I was done partaking in it, I'd feel terrible about what I was doing. I would regret it, and I would immediately feel self-hatred for what I had done. Dang it, why did I do that again? I hate that. I shouldn't have given into this. I know better. That was one of the statements I'd say to myself. I know better. Why would I do what I know I shouldn't do? Why would I give in? And I was frustrated with myself. And I would usually, at that point in time, vow to never do it again. That, oh God, just let me get away with it one last time, actually became more of a statement at that point on the other side of failure, of giving into sin. I would then have this mentality of, I'll never do that again. I will resolve right now to never do that again. I hate that. And because of how I feel right now, I want to remember that, God, and never go back. But a lot of times that feeling isn't going to be good enough. It's not going to hold its water. It's not going to stand up against the enemy's attacks the next time those attacks come, because I already gave in to sin. If you've already given in to sin, the habit's there. The battle was lost. One loss doesn't equal the next battle being won. It's tougher than that. Jesus can do anything in your life, and I'm here to tell you that. But you have skin in the game just like I did, and it was a fight, a battle to get out of that pit. And number 11, I would instantly ask God to forgive me of my sins, like I said, and never vow to do it again. So you can see how these 11 steps, this is what I personally experienced. Perhaps yours would be a little bit different, but this is what I experienced. And over years, nearly 25 years of experiencing this cycle, I could see the pattern unfolding. And if I didn't stand up against it in the name of Jesus and ask him to help me, God, get out of this. Help me, Jesus. I don't want to do this. I hate this. And then literally about face, and if I needed to actually run away from a place, if I needed to actually shut my computer down, if I needed to do something drastic to just turn and run, or at least mentally turn and run, I was going to go down this path, these 11 steps, and I'd come out the other end worse off. I'd come out the other end not being the man I wanted to be, and realizing that I had lost another battle. There it was, my personal addiction-inducing 11-step program. That's how it went down every time, regardless of my surroundings, regardless of the time of day, or the events going on in my life, no matter the time. All it took was a little entertainment of the thought or the opportunity, and I would push away all the spiritual truths and allow my mind to go blank. Like an emotionless robot, I would shut down my spiritual common sense. Entertaining the temptation resulted in a willful decision to totally check out of reality. Only then would I be completely absorbed in the moment. Nothing else mattered except getting the utmost satisfaction out of my experience. That was the driving force. It was about me. I was being selfish, and I wanted to get what I wanted to get and all that I could get out of it at that point in time. And I would ignore everything else going on in my life, what I was responsible for, who was in my life, who I was married to, the sons that I was raising, my responsibility at work. Most importantly, the fact that I called myself a Christian. I called myself a Christian, somebody that loved Jesus, and I was allowing myself to think like this and to go down this path. Part of it comes down to the fact that once a habit is formed, we rely on it. It's a crutch. And that's how it was for me. Perhaps for you as well. You might have bought the lie that you need to escape from reality. You need a break from reality. I can't tell you how many times I felt I needed a break from reality through the pressures of work, the pressures of marriage, the pressures of raising children, many different pressures in life, and I just wanted to check out. Check out. And it became so easy because I had formed this ability to give in to all of those pressures and say, well, I know one thing I can do. I know one place I can go. I should have been calling on Jesus. I should have been talking with him as I have a personal relationship with him. And I did then too, but I was choosing the wrong path. I was choosing to let go of his hand and go my own way. Only later to absolutely hate what I had done and long for nothing more than to hold his hand, to be embraced by him again and not go down that hellish path. There can be a lot of letdowns in our life as well. I saw a lot of my dreams go away as I faced reality, as I continued to age, go through my 20s and jump into my 30s. I saw a lot of that go away. That's for another story, that's for another time. But the list goes on and on of why we can feel certain pressures in our life, or what may be pressuring us or we succumb to, and then we decide, if you were like me, to give in to some form of temptation. You may have something else that really is a coping mechanism for you. Could be alcohol, could be drugs, could be relationships, could be other forms of fantasy. It's endless, unfortunately. Mine was porn. That was my vice. When we allow ourselves to go there, to dwell there, that's when we face a lot of trouble. I have another excerpt from the book that I believe will explain this well. When we allow ourselves to go there, to dwell there, that same old feeling would barge its way in. It felt as if I needed a break from reality. This is how the focal point of the temptation came to me every time that I was on a computer searching or working or whatever it may be. And I'm talking about computer in my basement, isolated. These were the thoughts that would come to me. Of course, entertaining my temptation was always the worst move I could make. Like I've been saying, to dwell will cause hell. It's always the worst choice you can make. For me, absolutely the same thing. It's not different for me. It's not different for anybody else out there. Couple that temptation with my motto that life should be fun, and that's something I really believe, that life should be fun. And so if I wasn't having fun in other areas of life, if I was feeling pressure, well, at least I could have fun doing this, even if it was just for a few minutes. And so couple the temptation with that kind of life motto, and boom, I was toast. I was gonna go down, especially since I wasn't gonna put up a fight anyways. It truly was playing with fire, no doubt. In the long run, I was going to be scorched. To me, taking a break or having some fun from reality meant only one thing: total indulgence with porn. Again, I can't repeat it enough. To dwell will cause hell. Stay away from it. Remember, temptation is not sin. Giving in to temptation is sin. That's why it's important to recognize that we can feel guilty when we are faced with temptation, but that's not sin. Giving into the temptation, into the enticement, being drug away by that temptation, allowing ourselves to be drug away by that temptation, that is sin. That's when it gives way to death. We have to remember that. So you may go there, like I said, but don't stay there. Preferably don't go there. Be like Joseph with Potiphar's wife. We tell that to our sons all the time. You're faced with a tempting situation, turn and run. Get out of there now. Don't turn back. Don't look over your shoulders. Run. That's what you need to do. The Bible talks about resisting the devil and he will flee from you. James 4:7. It's God's advice throughout Scripture when it comes to temptation, when it comes to sexual temptation, or really any kind of temptation, run. And a lot of times God's word is speaking to sexual immorality and saying, you need to run. There's no thinking about it. There's no contemplating it. There's no trying to put it logically in its place. Well, I wonder if I just play with it a little bit, am I going to be okay? No, you're not. It's walking on the brink of destruction. Run. That is God's word. But inevitably for me, I danced around the edge of the fire and I got scorched too long. And I didn't need to allow that to happen. It's a sick cycle that will not reward you in the end like you believe. See, we think, and I believed this for way too long, that I could escape from reality, from life, and in that escapism, I could indulge in porn and lusting in that fantasy world, and nobody would be hurt, nothing bad would come of it, and I'd come out the other end unscathed. But the truth was, I was burnt every single time I did. Every time I went through that pattern, I would be in pain, agony, frustration, self-hatred, self-condemnation after that every single time. And it did end up impacting my wife. It impacted our relationship dramatically, and it impacted our household. That's the truth of it. We will not be rewarded with something great at the end of indulging in sin, whether it's porn or anything else. We will end up reaping the reward. And the reward is woe. W-O-E. Lots of pain, frustration, things that we really didn't want. But that's the lie that we can often buy into. It's just simply not worth it, and it never, ever will be. The truth is, I'm going to be frank with you, it will be hard to break this kind of cycle. I believe that it's only possible immediately and long term in the name of Jesus. I believe there's power in his name, and as a Christ follower, I can wield his name in faith, and I can see temptation go away. I'll unpack that more in some other videos, which we'll share those links down below as well. But we're going to make sure that we just stay focused on this right now. And I want to bring this a little bit to a close. But I used to have a thing called the wicked cinema, which was really my ability to lust mentally over any kind of images I had ever seen. Video, magazine, newspaper, real women at work, school, church, public, you name it. The ability to categorize those thoughts and then take them out later on. If I did not have pornographic material available to me or the time, I would then use those thoughts in my mind to manipulate them and to lust over them. And I called that the wicked cinema. Now, I just said the truth is it will be very difficult to break this cycle, this kind of cycle of constantly giving in to temptation. However, it can be broken. One, in the name of Jesus. And two, I personally experienced that, and we're going to share this in another video that's completely about the destruction or abolishment of the wicked cinema in my life, and that I actually experienced deliverance. Bang, everything was done, and I was completely delivered from the functioning capabilities of the wicked cinema in my mind and my ability to lust. over any woman or images that I had seen. And so that's for another time, but I just want to say it is going to be challenging. You've got skin in the game. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight in order to make it through. But the best way to fight is with Jesus, because I know he was in the bottom of the pit with me all those years that I was fighting and didn't want to be down there, but I made choices and I was living with the natural consequences of my choices, but I still wanted him. I wanted out, and I believe you want out, and you can be out in the name of Jesus in a real, raw relationship with him. You fight with him, you grab onto him, things will change. I'll talk about that in some other videos, but things can change very quickly. Praise God. Strongholds like this were built in my life, and I know that they're built in other people's lives. I see it all the time when my wife and I counsel individuals. And it's sad, but strongholds like this are fortified because of our behavior. They're built because of our choices. Whether demonically influenced or not, strongholds are built because of what we do, what we think, what we say. That was the case with me, and that's the case with millions of people the world over, unfortunately. It takes calling on Jesus in the face of temptation and wielding his mighty name. That's where victory is captured. That's where you can start taking ground. Relentlessly using his name in faith was my only hope, and I believe that's your only hope, to escape whatever dismal situation you're facing. And if you are facing this situation of porn being the problem in your life, then you can overcome it in Jesus' name in a real relationship with him, to fight. Help him, join with him, I should say. You fight with him to get it out, to get out of there. He's the best partner. He's the captain of the battle. He's the way out. And really, it's going to take like fighting with a sword. Fight, bash in the head of the enemy's temptation in order to get away from it and in order to keep putting it down. The more the temptation comes at you, the more you can know, I don't want this Jesus. I hate this Jesus. I'm not going to have anything to do with that Jesus. Get me out of here right now, Jesus. Thank you for saving me from this, Jesus. Already declaring that you're victorious over the temptation already is paramount. I can't encourage that enough. That's what leads to freedom. That's what leads to victory over temptation every single time. It's awesome. Now, we explain far more of this in our book, Back When Porn Was Fun, Freedom from the Chains. This book is split into 2 books. They're both in this one book. The first book is the testimony and basically my downfall as a man and how it then corrupted my family. And the second book is basically the victory section, where we pack it full of God's word. We really unpack more of the mindsets of what was going on. And as I was coming out of the habit of giving into temptation, you can read what were the things I was facing. And the feedback that we have been given over time is that man after man, woman after woman continues to say, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I go through. I thought I was alone in this. This is exactly what I'm dealing with every time. I believe that God has used my story and my family's story so that it can help you be free in Jesus. You can live triumphantly over temptation, no matter what you're facing right now. The enemy wants you to believe that you can't overcome this, that you will die with this. I wanted to go to my grave with this story, and God told me, nope, I'm going to lift you up. You're going to tell people this story. I'm not ashamed to talk about it anymore, and I love you too much. My family loves you too much. Jesus loves you way too much to not tell you these things. So I pray that today's message helps you and encourages you in this battle, so that you start winning battle after battle, so the war in your life is won and you don't have to walk in ways of habitual sin any longer. I want to pray for everybody right now regarding this. Jesus, thank you so much that you are supreme. You are God, the ultimate sovereign Lord. Right now, in your name, Jesus, whoever is watching this and where they're at right now, and they say, how can I get beyond this? I just can't see it. I want to believe it, but the grit to be there, the grit to be able to know that, yes, I can fight, and that it's not overwhelming. One step at a time, one battle, one punch at a time. In your name, Jesus, I ask that you would send your mighty Spirit to them and saturate them and gird them with the power of your Holy Spirit to fight every battle that comes their way. When an inkling of a thought comes in to their mind, that they would not go there, but they would instead fight it in your name, Jesus. They would flee, turn and flee from sin, from temptation, and be encouraged by you, and that they would then see how powerful that is, that experience, and relish in that victory more, so that they can have more wins, more victories, more battles won. Time not taken from them, not stolen from them. Jesus, I thank you for delivering those that you are delivering right now, those that you are helping them through this situation and to grasp it, and that it would become an 18-inch journey from mind to heart, and they would understand in their soul, their mind, will, and emotion, this is how I fight. This is how I fight my battles. With your word, God, with your name, Jesus, with a real, raw, relevant relationship with you. Thank you, Jesus. We declare victory. I declare victory in the lives of those watching, whether it is with porn or with any kind of addictive behavior or mentality. Those strongholds come down brick by brick in the name of Jesus, and lives are set free to live abundantly beyond all of the filth and beyond all of the trash. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for joining me today. We have some links below. If you'd like to connect with Tony and I, you can visit some of the links below in the description. We also have some other links below. One, to our book, where you can find it available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. As well, we have some videos that are created and that are in relation to what I just talked about. And so we will link up several of those. We encourage you to, of course, go to our YouTube page and subscribe and tell other people about our ministry, Forge a Legacy. But we will specifically put in the descriptions below, you will see links to other related videos that help bring this to a fullness, if you'd like to say, a complete teaching. And so those are there for you. So I want you to remember that no matter what you faced, what you're going through, or how you feel, you are not alone. You are not alone. Do whatever it takes to get healed so that you can be all that you were destined to be. Do whatever it takes to forge a legacy, because it matters for eternity.